The first 14 that are now 20 years old, those schools were all born in 1994, 1995, where the charter school movement really was about letting 1,000 flowers bloom and seeing what's successful. So the schools that we're celebrating on this 20th anniversary, they were pioneers, and the fortitude and resilience that was necessary to be successful in those times has been instilled in the school culture. And so 20 years later, those schools are still being innovative, they're still dynamic, they're still pushing the envelope, and have managed to hold on to their original vision and energy in a really very impressive way. Building a strong community for students is at the core of every charter school's mission.
City on a Hill is super awesome. Everyone knows everyone. All the teachers know your name. City on a Hill is a true community. We care very deeply for each other. At City on a Hill, there's a lottery. So you apply and you get randomly picked. I didn't get picked right away, and I was at Brighton High. It was not my pace. Like, I didn't feel challenged, and I was like, this is not where I should be. They called my mom one Friday. I will never forget this Friday.
She got a call, and it was City on a Hill. The sky opened.
I got here, and somehow the whole freshman class already knew my name. And that was like the moment where I'm like, whoa, this is not like any other high school. That moment is when it hit me that I had started a new chapter in my life.
I think it changed Diana's life going to a charter school. She's gonna get everything from being at that school.
The fundamental problem with public education back in 1993, when the Education Reform Act was signed, was really that there was no alternative to the local public school district. And it was pretty clear that that one option wasn't nearly good enough. Most of the schools were just not what any of us would want for our own children.
All of us in positions of leadership in the city were concerned about the well-being of everyone in it and the city itself. The question was what to do about the public schools. The reform movement usually meant a lot of money and almost no change. In 1992, it became apparent that we were going to have major reform legislation.
One of the reasons charters were founded was really as an experiment to look at bringing other types of public education to cities and towns across Massachusetts. But it really was this experiment. Let's try this new idea with charter schools and let's give them different rules to work by and see how it works. It really gave parents another option of public education.
I really like to think of it as planting a seed. The question was it ever going to take root?
My name is Ashley Batiata. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Lawrence Family Development Charter School. My family is from the Dominican Republic. We came here when I was 3 years old and I didn't know one word of English.
Bueno, la Lawrence Family Development Charter School es una escuela un poco diferente. La Charter tiene una especialidad de educación fantástica.
My favorite subject is math. Like, I love to think about the problem. I love challenging myself and see how deep I can go. If I'm pushed, I discover new qualities about myself.
In 1995, the feeling that families had in the traditional public schools here in the city of Lawrence was that their culture wasn't valued, their language wasn't valued. So with the 1993 Ed Reform legislation, they turned the book on us and said, well, you know what? We'd like to start a school where it's based on culture, it'll be based on language, and it would be based on family input. Thus, the beginning of Lawrence Family Development Charter School.
The interesting thing about charter schools was that no one had ever really done this before. We were very lucky to have a really strong cohort of initial founders who created great schools almost from day one.
This was entrepreneurial. They saw an opportunity to make a difference. Their efforts would be rewarded by results.
If you were going to design a school where the students were in classrooms actively engaged in learning and teachers were in the classrooms supporting that learning rather than delivering information, what would that look like? The mechanism of charter schools allowed us to imagine what education could look like for kids.
South Shore Charter Public School is a place where students and parents and teachers and community members all come together and find what is going to work for every single student. I started at the charter school when I was in the 2nd grade. It was the first year that the school actually opened. I had some really wonderful mentors who helped inspire me to become a teacher as well. And so I wanted to essentially be that person who could mentor students and really be there for them and have their backs.
A seed did take root. And here we are 20 years later, and it's flourishing.
We started in 1995 with 14 charter schools. We are now 70 Commonwealth charter schools in this state. There are almost 40,000 students now in our schools. Many of our schools are closing the achievement gap. You're seeing underprivileged children performing at the same levels as their counterparts in more affluent communities.
The type of test scores that our kids are producing, our kids are scoring in the high 80s, high 90s. This is a school that over 40% of them are English language learners. 99% of them come from poverty homes. It's just remarkable that our kids can achieve at the level that they achieve.
I think we need to expand these opportunities. We need more of these kinds of public charter schools that give parents and their kids the kinds of choices they want to get, educations that make them competitive and great members of the community.
My hopes for the next 20 years are that we find a way to make sure that the district schools and the charter schools connect with each other. If we can go there in the next 20 years, I think that you'll see education in Massachusetts continue to soar.
If you told me in 1993 that by 2015, the charter schools in Massachusetts would be among the highest performing schools of any kind in the country, I would have said, hey, that's terrific. If you told me you were going to have 40,000 kids enrolled in charter schools in communities all over Massachusetts, I'd say, bring it on. But that gnawing fact that kind of sits in the back of my mind are the 37,000 kids who are on the waiting list. I would like to get to the point over the next 20 years in Massachusetts where parents have the ability to send their kids to the school they think makes the most sense for them.
20 years from now, I would probably be some super scientist, having my own lab, and doing my own research. City on Ill has helped me shape that by allowing me to express myself.